Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you. All you have to do is send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, hon, today's guest,
Yes,
we're
indeed.
real excited about our
Very
wonderful
excited.
guest who came all the way from Milan, Italy. Her name is Gianna Emanuela Molla, and she is the daughter of St. Gianna Beretta Molla and Pietro Molla. And now we all have heard of St. Gianna.
Yes.
We have a granddaughter named Gianna.
Yes, indeed.
And there have been many Giannas named all over the world because of St. Gianna Molla. Well, today on At Home, we will have the daughter of a saint right here sitting on our couch.
That's a great honor. And thinking about that saint, St. Gianna Beretta Molla, and especially the gift of motherhood, the gift of sacrifice. We went and visited one of our daughters, Rebecca, recently, and I'm just so blessed to have women in my life like you, like
Good,
Anna,
yeah.
like Rebecca, our daughter-in-laws, Shannon and Becky. But when we went to Rebecca's house just a while back, Rebecca has 6 beautiful children, right?
Right.
One in the womb.
Yes, she's pregnant with her 7.
And she was pregnant a number of other times and had miscarriages. So we went over to the house, and they're getting ready to go on vacation. Here's the 6 kids. They're really busy, but they had us over for supper. Rebecca's
To celebrate Gloria's birthday, Gloria Camille's
Camille's birthday,
who's
right.
3.
Named after my late cousin and my
And
sister. So we're there, and I'm just looking at Rebecca. She's such a motherhood, just motherhoods all over her. And they're getting ready to go. They're so busy, yet they have us over to eat, and then they have the cake for Gloria, Gloria Camille, and she baked the cake.
Right.
Now, it wasn't like a huge cake or anything, but she made this cake.
She decorated the cake.
Coconut all up top, all these little princesses.
Princess cakes, yeah.
A little trail to walk on for the princess.
detail.
And I just looked at Rebecca, and you just see love, and you see motherhood, and sacrifice. And women just have such a special place, as we know is taught in the church, especially by John Paul II, St. John Paul, of a special way. They call it the feminine genius. And I don't think it necessarily means that women are geniuses intellectually.
Yes, we are.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
But it means that the creation of woman is such a genius because she reflects in such a special way. All women do this gift of giving. Women have wombs, right? Guys don't. Nurturing, giving. And those who are blessed in literal motherhood, I mean, they give their bodies over. I'm telling you something you don't know. But I'm in awe of that, of what ladies do. We know Mother Teresa didn't birth a child, and she was a great mother, so all women are called to be mothers in some way. But that gift of motherhood, sacrificing, giving of yourself, having a human being living inside of you.
Yes.
And the pain of bringing that child forth, and it's like a near-death experience. But women sacrifice themselves in this way to give birth, and they forget to travail to a point that the life has come, and every woman's body and womb is a threshold to the world and to eternity. And it's awesome.
It is.
And then we have in St. Gianna Beretta Molla, of course, she made the ultimate sacrifice. And she chose to give her life up physically, that her daughter's life would be spared. She made the sacrifice that she would come forth. And we'll hear more about that story, but in honor of women, in honor of a life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I love being a mom. I just have 4 children, and but one of my pregnancies was carrying a set of twins.
Yeah.
And that was a lot.
Yeah.
And the beauty of participating with God in growing a baby in your womb, and to know the great sacrifice. Now, we live in a day and a time when the world has changed. And just today, I sat in counseling rooms where the beautiful sacrifice that St. Gianna made for her daughter was she sacrificed her life that her daughter would have life.
Okay. Yeah.
And today I met with women who wanted to sacrifice the life of their children so they can have their life back. And you're just like, what? And you know, and when you understand, you think the world is turned upside down. And what a saint! We need this saint.
Yes.
I need this saint for her to pray that motherhood, that women would be turned to the hearts of their babies, that the sanctity of human life and the dignity and the value and worth of every human being that's growing in our womb would be loved, honored, adored, and cherished.
Well, Gianna Emanuela Molla is here with us, daughter of Saint Gianna Beretta Molla and Pietro Molla. And she has an amazing story and also an amazing project that she's here to tell us about so that people can go right to her very home and visit where Saint Gianna Beretta Molla lived, Project Ponte Nuovo. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More to come. Call your friends. Let them know the show is on. We'll be right back.
Well, you're an important part of the family, and you know, we would love to hear from you. What we would like for you to do is send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and maybe we will use your question on the air. Well, right now, it is my honor and privilege to welcome to At Home Gianna Emanuela Molla. She is the daughter of Saint Gianna Beretta Molla and Pietro Molla. You could go to their website, stgianna.org. Well, look at you. Here you are in Birmingham, Alabama, and welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Now, Gianna Emanuela, tell us and all of our viewers at home, what was it like being the daughter of a saint?
First of all, I thank the Lord for this very singular and immeasurable grace. A grace very, very, very big. And of course, it's a great honor for me to have a mom canonized from the church. It's a great joy. And also a big responsibility. And really, while my first prayer, when I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes, is this. What I do, I thank the Lord, the Virgin Mary, who made my parents' hearts met. My most beloved Saint Mom and my most beloved Dad for the gift of life. The most precious and the most greatest gift. And then what I do, I pray the Lord and the Virgin Mary to help me to be worthy of my Saint Mom and to be worthy of my dad too, her most worthy spouse. My dad usually tell me that God has given back to us our Gianna as a holy spouse and a holy mother to share with people all around the world. Really, my dad told me more than one time that he implored the Lord to save also my mom's life, not only my life. But the Lord is in infinite wisdom did in a different way. And God, and my dad told me, I have accepted God's will without understanding it. I understand, I have understood God's will many, many years later after Mom's death, when the church proclaimed Mom before blessed and then as a saint. He told me, I realize what God would like for Mom. If Mom would remain here with us, she could go on to do some good to her family, to her patients, to her neighbor. But God would like that Mom could do a lot of good to many, many people, more than only her family.
Right.
Really, I can testify how much good Mom has been doing since many years now. I continuously receive testimony of graces received through Mom's intercessions. I arrived in the United States 4 days ago. I arrived in Philadelphia, and I gave my testimony in a church. And then I have met a lot of people. Between these people, I met also a lot of baby Gianna. Every time I come to the United States, I usually met many baby Giannas, and also girls who have taken my mom as a patron saint for her confirmation. How much I am so very happy, really, to meet people who tell me how much we love your mom. Your mom is a great inspiration for us. And I am happy to share my mom with all people who pray to her, who ask for her intercession. And every time I came to know about graces received through mom's intercession, I thank the Lord, because Lord has listened to mom's prayers. I usually tell people when they ask me to pray to my mom, be sure that if your desire, if your prayer request is according God's will, surely my mom listen to your prayers and to my prayers. Of course, we have always to accept God's will.
Now, your parents were only married 6.5 years, right?
Yes.
And they had 4 children.
Yes.
So you have a brother and you had 2 sisters, and then your mother
Yes.
died 6 days after you were born, right? She had an
Yes.
infection.
Yes. Yes.
What did she
Yes,
have? Tell us about her
yes,
condition.
My mom died 1 week after my birth, and she died for a septic peritonitis as a delivery complication. During my pregnancy, what's happened? Mom, at the end of the 2nd month, was diagnosed a fibroma, a benign tumor. I underline Mom had a benign tumor, because you can understand better how big has been her sacrifice for me. And she could choose to save her life with a surgery which removed her uterus. She could save her life completely. Dad told me, if Mom did this choice, could live 100 years, of course with God's help. But she could not have other babies. She could remove the fibroma and put an end to my pregnancy with an abortion, and to have the possibility to have other children. Of course, this solution put her life safe for my pregnancy, but perhaps not for the future. But what Mom chose? Mom chose to ask the surgeon to remove only the fibroma and to go on pregnancy with the risk. This was the heightened risk for her, and she, as a doctor, knows this very well, knows this. Because the surgery necessary to remove the fibroma would leave a scar that could break and going on the pregnancy.
Right.
And with a mortal risk for my mom and the baby who was me. Mom decided for this solution, and my dad respected her decision. Another husband could say, no,
That's right.
I don't want to remain here with 4 children and without you. And to have this risk. Mom, thank God for having saved my life. And when she gone to to do our duties as a spouse, a mother, and a doctor during the other 7 months before delivery. But also always hoping that God would save also her life, not only mine. But really, she was ready to give her life for her creatures. Before delivery, 2 weeks before delivery, she told to my dad, Pietro, if you have to decide it between my life and the baby's life, do not hesitate. Choose. This is what I require. Choose the baby's life. My dad, for the second time, respected my mom's will. And when, as you know, during the delivery, there has been these complications, peritonitis septic. Mom was in the hospital just during the Holy Week, and she lived with her Jesus, the passion of this week.
So she passed away in April. So this is the season of Lent. Is that what you're saying? She suffered during the season of Lent?
She died on 28th of April, on a Saturday in Albis, but she would like my dad to take her in her home, in her spousal home in Ponte Nuovo. She didn't want to die in the hospital when she realized that God is calling her in paradise. After my mom's death, as you told, after only 6.5 years of marriage, then my dad lived then other 48 years without mom's visible presence. But as I have testified, they went on being one heart and soul, spiritually very united each other. And my mom has also with me, she never leave me alone, always with me. When some people tell me, but your mom taking this decision, live here for children without mom. This is true. But what I answer to this person, what my dad explained to me when I was able to understand my mom's sacrifice. And the words of my dad helped me to become serene, because I had a sense of guilt toward my brother and sisters, and my mom too, because mom had a great joy to live.
Right.
And my brother and sister suffered more than me, because Pierluigi was 6 years old, Mariolina was 5, and Laura was 3 when mom died. I was only a week. Dad told me that for moms, I have the same right to life, to live as my brother and my sister who were already born. And mom knew very well that only she, in that very moment, represented for me the instrument of divine providence, so I could arrive to see the light. For my brother and sister upbringing, she relied on providence through my dad and other relatives.
Right.
But only my mom could help me in that very moment, no other people.
Right.
And so, really, as it is like we born not only one time, but 2 times, when we are conceived and when our mom allow us to see the light. When I think how much mom and dad loved each other, I really, I am very moved and touched. They really have had an infinite love, a reciprocal infinite love, and of course also an infinite love for us, the children. They lived the sacrament of marriage really as a vocation and as a path toward holiness. When my dad was alive, since he was very reserved and shy, he didn't want his letters to Mom were published. Of course, his will was respected, and so only the letter of Mom to him were published. Incredible, but it was my mom who at first declared her love to Dad. This is, I smile when I think of this. And after my dad's death, 6 years ago, also his letter to Mom were published. I dedicated a lot of time to prepare these letters. And while I transcribed all the letter of Mom and Dad, in particular, all the letter of Dad, but I read the letter all together, I have thought this, that I think their love was so great, could be so great, could be only so great, because the Lord and the Virgin Mary were always present, were an integral part of their love, such as they were an integral part of their whole lives, also before they meet each other.
Gianna, let's pause right there with that beautiful thought. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back. We're speaking with Gianna Emanuela Molla, daughter of St. Gianna Beretta Molla and Pietro Molla. What a privilege we have in hearing from Gianna Emanuela. We pray you're really being blessed and you're getting some tremendous insights into this family of love. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy. And you know, remember, we want you to be a part of our show here on At Home. All you have to do is email us, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we will use your question on the air. And if you don't already have your copy, you need to order Mother Angelica's Answers, Not Promises from the EWTN Religious Catalog. This amazing book is a compilation of Mother Angelica's straightforward solutions to life's puzzling problems, put together in book form with the help of Christine Allison. You can order it by going to EWTNRC.com or give them a jingle at 1-800-854-6316, and it's item number 80046. You might be thinking you need a summer read. That would be a great, holy summer read.
Well, we continue our conversation with Gianna Emanuela Molla, daughter of St. Gianna Beretta Molla and Pietro Molla. So Gianna, you were sharing right before the break, about your parents, their incredible love. If anybody has seen pictures of them together, it's just so obvious. Tell us a little bit more about what you've learned from their example, from their way of self-donation and giving of themselves.
Yes. After my mom's death, my dad wrote a wonderful letter to my uncle, Father Alberto, my mom's brothers. This long letter ends with a beautiful prayer to the Lord and to my mom. And Dad, in this letter, writes these words, "And you, Gianna, help me to carry my cross day after day, and to fulfill God's will in an heroic way." And then the prayer go on. I lived with my dad 48 years of my life. And I can tell that really Mom helps him to carry his cross day after day. And then when God called him as well, he was really most worthy to go near to Mom and forever. After Mom's death, 2 years after Mom's death, died my little sister Mariolina at only 6 years old, caused by a glomerulonephritis and kidney failure. You can imagine my dad's sorrow. Also because there was not my mom close to him to share with him these deep sorrows. When I met married couples and they tell me, we, thanks God, live together since 25 years, since 30 years, since 50 years, I tell them how much you are lucky. Really how much you are lucky. My mom and dad lived together only 6 years and a half of their marriage. Well, thinking, reflecting on their lives, what they teach me, if I consider both of their lives. For example, my dad, even if he suffered a lot during his long life, he usually tell me, it would not be enough for me the eternity to thank the Lord for all the graces he granted to me during my long life, in particular to attend a Mom's beatification and canonization. And I say, oh, my dad suffered a lot, and he continuously thanks the Lord. Since many people after my dad's death tell me, God blessed you with 2 same parents. Really, it was my mom the first who, in her letter to dad, wrote, you are a saintly papa, not of gold but of diamond, the biggest and most precious one there is on this earth. I am agree with my mom, and so I allow to say that really God blessed me with 2 same parents. And my saint parents live teach me this, that the way of the cross is certainly the right way I have to follow to be able to reach one day enjoying paradise joy, God's sight joy, and forever. The way of the cross, which is closely connected and indissoluble from the way of the resurrection, as our Lord Jesus witnesses and shown, is surely the most uncomfortable and difficult one to face as a human. But I think it is the only way which allows us to give a complete and full meaning to our life. As our Heavenly Mother has taught us very well, this way implies our unconditional and continuous yes to God's will. Our humble acceptance of His holy will. Always, and in any case, even when we don't understand it. My saint parents live teach me that the way of the cross is the way of the joy as well. The most true and profound joy. That is the prelude of the greatest joy to delight one day of God's sights and forever. And even walking on the way of the cross, we can live in joy. If we have the Lord in our heart, if we see everything happens in our life in the light of faith. And if we fulfill and accept continuously God's will, and this, if we live in this way, we feel in duty to thank continuously our Lord for each of our breath, for each of His gift, even for the gift of suffering. Every time happens that I am rich from a new suffering, I think I am on the right way. And this helped me to face this suffering as is possible humanly. I cannot think that since I have my mom and my dad in paradise, I have a big road to arrive in paradise. A special road. No. Also for me, the road is very tight.
Narrow.
Because mom and dad are in paradise, but they lived really in a saintly way to arrive there. And I am living with the joy and with the hope to be able, with God's help, to rejoin to them, to embrace them again.
Amen.
When God will call me as well.
Gianna, let's hold it right there for a moment. We have an email. Somebody wants to make a comment or ask a question.
Okay, it says, "Hi, Dr. Molla. My husband and I teach high school catechism and like to share your mother's inspirational story to our students. She has been called the saint of everyday life. What does that mean?" And this is Terry from Tucson. So your mother has been called the saint of everyday life. What does that mean?
This does mean that Mama lived in a saintly way every day of her life. And in this sense, Mama is a great hope for each of us. Before Mama, Church proclaim, bless, and saint. Above all, religious persons, religious founders. And as dearest Cardinal Martini explained very well, Mom's message is, in a certain sense, different from the message of this religious person, extraordinary people, and so for this reason, a little distant from us. My mom is a modern day saint. She suffered like us. People who write to me told me, we feel your mom very close to us. She's like a mother, a friend, like a sister. She understands us very well because she lived our same sufferings. And of course, Mom is a model for us as a young person because since she was 5 years old, she put Jesus in the center of her life. And she dedicated much of her time also to the apostolate, to the Girls of Catholic Action, and she prayed a lot, and she always lived in God's grace and always really accept and fulfill God's will. In a prayer she wrote when she was 15 years old to God, he wrote to God this prayer that he promised always to accept God's wills. Just she asked God to let her meet her will. And really she always said yes to God's will. Also, when she was expecting me, because allowing me to see the light, she, for another time, said her yes to God, because God could complete my life, because Mom accept completely my life. And the holiness of Mom, since is a holiness of everyday life, and each of us is called to holiness. Mom's holiness is accessible for everyone. And Mom, what means used to become a saint? Means which each of us can use. The parish life, the Holy Mass, her engagement into Catholic action, the ordinary prayers of simple people. And really, to be a saint does not mean to be perfect. Mom, in one of her letters to a very dear Canossian sister she loved a lot, asked to this sister, please, Mother, tell me which are my defects. And the sister...
She made a list.
And when I read this letter, it's a big consolation for me. Really, it doesn't mean to be perfect. We are always human. Only the Lord is perfect.
That's right.
And really, I think it's, in a certain sense, more difficult to be a saint of everyday life than to do an exceptional act in a moment.
Gianna, let's pause there. I hate stopping you from sharing because it's so beautiful, but we're going to take a break.
Yes.
And then we want to hear about the holy places of St. Gianna's life and the special project, Ponte Nuovo in Magenta. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're an important part of the family, and you know, we would love to have you join us live right here at home. Could you imagine if you were here today? You would get to meet Gianna Emanuela. You would meet her. She's here.
The daughter of a saint.
The daughter of a saint. You could be a member in our studio audience. All you have to do is contact the EWTN Pilgrimage Department, and just do that by emailing pilgrimages@ewtn.com, or give them a jingle at 205-271-2966. We would love to have you come and visit us here in Irondale, Alabama.
Well, Gianna, you've shared your story so beautifully. You've cared for your dad as he passed on. You're a doctor, but you're not practicing. And you've really taken on this mission of the holy places of your mother, Ponte Nuovo in Magenta. So please tell us what that is, what that's about.
Yes. Now my mission is changed, and I am dedicated all my life in service of God, of my mom and my dad, and of all people who ask me to pray for her, who would like to meet me, and also to pilgrims who arrive to visit my mom's holy place in Ponte Nuovo. Ponte Nuovo is really a holy place, is a small suburban village of the city of Magenta, the city of Mom. And in Ponte Nuovo, Mom lived her 6 years and a half as a spouse, as a mother, and practiced also as a doctor, as a pediatrician, and she died in Ponte Nuovo, in her spousal home. And pilgrims, when arrive pilgrims in Ponte Nuovo, they would like to visit the spousal home of my mom. They tell me, we would like to pray in the same place where your mom lived and died. we would like to stay in Ponte Nuovo, not only 1 hour, 2 days to pray. Well, at present, this is not possible. It will be possible thanks to a project. This project provides to restore, with God's and divine providence help, the sponsal home of Mom and Dad, who is a relic, this home. And the small church of Our Lady of Good Counsel, where Mom went every day to pray and to attend the Holy Mass, where was celebrated the funeral of Mom. In the sponsal home, Mom gave birth to my brother, my sister, and she raised with my dad my brothers, and then she died. And the project provides also a third and last stage to create the St. Gianna Molla International Center in a big building situated providentially between the home and the small church. This home, we lived in this home also after my mom's death. We stayed there other 70 years. This home is also at present a property of the company where my dad served as a director. All of these buildings are a property of this factory. And this company would like to donate the property of the Curia of Milan and Parish of Magenta. This project is really a wonderful project because the home is a relic, this home. And when we have to go away, because the company told us they need the home, my dad, with much love, preserved and took care of all the furniture present in the home where there was my mom. And now I continue to take care of these furniture. And once restored the home, all these furniture return to their place. Then we have thought to create rooms with a permanent exhibit of other relic of Mom, gloves, scarves, so people can touch this relic. Then also rooms for residence for religious sisters. And there is a religious order, Institute of Servant of the Lord and of Virgin of Matara, whose sister will come in Ponte Nuovo. It's very important, the presence of religious sister, so to guarantee an attention, a spiritual attention, for offering a spiritual attention and for housekeeping, because this home, once restored, will be full of Mom's relics. And then we have thought to create also a chapel with the Blessed Sacrament present, as my uncle, Father Alberto, who is a servant of God now, because Father Cappuccino opened his cause of beatification 35 years ago, told it was very important that in this home where Mom lived and died, there will be a chapel with the Blessed Sacrament present, to underline the sacredness of this home. And this project, the aim of this project, what is the aim of this project? Is to honor, to promote the knowledge of my Saint Mom, and to create a place of pilgrimage and of prayer where Mom lived as a spouse, as a mother, as a doctor, and as a martyr to life. Thus keeping alive her memory, her testimony, and to perpetuate in this place her memory and her testimony. Also in this big building where we would like to create the St. Gianna Molla International Center, we had thought to create a big chapel for big group of pilgrims, and also place to welcome pilgrims and to host pilgrims, also for the night, to eat and for the night. So if they would like to do Eucharistic adoration during the night, thanks to this big chapel, all of this is possible. And also place to take testimonies. And at present, really, I am in difficulty because when arrive group of pilgrims, from Italy, from other countries, Europe countries, in particular from Poland. Mom is much loved in Poland. And then also from the United States. Really, when every time I come here, I see how much my mom is loved and prayed in the United States. And arrived, for example, university student, but also married couple, arrive mothers, fathers, priests, nuns, and they would like really to ask to my mom's intercession and to pray in this holy place. The project would be completely in 3 stages. The most urgent things would be to restore the home, because the company abandoned this home, and so the home really is in very, very bad condition. When arrived pilgrims remain shocked to see the home. And so I hope with God's help to be able to realize step by step this project. I know that if all of this is according God's will, one day in Ponte Nuovo, I would like to welcome you.
I would like to
one
come.
day, very soon.
Yes.
I would like really to welcome all moms devoted. And for example, now I live in the birthplace of my dad, and I sleep in the bed of my mom and my dad, in their nuptial bedroom. Of course, I would like until God give me life to go on to sleep in my parents' bed. But I am very happy to share all of these relics of Mom with all the devotees of Mom.
Yes.
And I know that I am only an instrument in God's hands, so that this project one day can come true. I pray that the Lord can give me enough life to be able to prepare all of this until I am alive. And I am very happy when arrive persons, people, and I see how much they are happy to arrive in these places. Really, all of this project is in service to the Universal Church. This is very important. Really, I think that could give many spiritual fruits to many people. And
Cardinal Burke has written a letter, right?
yes.
In support of the project.
Yes, because when I went to know from a member of Curio of Milan that the company would like to donate the property of the home and the small church to the Curio of Milan and Parish of Magenta, and they asked me to help them to raise the funds to restore the properties, so can be formalized this donation. I visited Cardinal Burke in Rome. He's very devoted to my mom. I presented to him the project. He immediately was very enthusiastic. He immediately told me that he would like to support me and the project. Cardinal Burke came to visit this place 3 times, and he knows very well the situation of these holy places. Then also the Pontificium Concilium for the Family supported the project.
Right.
Also Cardinal Comasti, the General Vicar of His Holiness. I am so very happy for this. And really, every time I speak with people devoted to Mom about this project, they realized how much it's important. And what I say, I humbly ask you to help me to bring to fulfillment this project. First of all, with your prayers. Prayers always are fundamental. And then, if it's possible, with a donation, also $1 can be important. And according, of course, your possibilities. And what we did in this way, we, thanks to a donation of a Polish man, it was able to open an account, St. Gianna Restoration Fund, with the National Catholic Community Foundation, a U.S. community foundation whose contributions are tax deductible.
Okay, good.
It's very important.
That's
this,
important.
It's
That's
very
right.
important. And then I hope and I pray and hope that with the help of God, with the help of God, as soon as possible, we can restore the home. Every time, this is also my country, Ponte Nuovo. I lived here 20 years of my life. And I know how much Mom and Dad were affectionate to this place.
Gianna, we're going to have to pause there. You're so passionate about this, but we're going to have to close out our time.
Yes.
And it's been a great blessing to be with you, an honor.
I thank you with all my heart for having had me the possibility to share with you about my family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's all do what we can to make this project a reality. God bless you, and God bless all of your loved ones. Bye now.